Good morning, everybody. So I think you all know me, Stephanie Cavino. I'm the program manager for the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. So we're just going to go around and do introductions, and I'm so excited to hand it over to our newest employee who doubles our staff capacity. So now it's not just me. Kaylee, if you want to say a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Kaylee. It's so nice to meet everyone. I'm the new Blackstone Watershed Restoration Coordinator. And yeah, I'm originally from Pepperell, Mass. I live in Worcester now. I got my bachelor's at Clark in environmental science and policy. And then I also got my master's in GIS also at Clark. So I just graduated. Yeah, a lot of my past research in college has been GIS based consulting work, and I've had the privilege to work with some really great organizations like Conservation International and the Wildlife Conservation Society. I've also done some work for the city of Worcester, and I also interned with NASA, which was really cool. And yeah, I'm really interested in low impact development and nature-based solutions, environmental justice, cartography, community engagement, all that. And I love kayaking, I love running. I've also really been getting into bird watching. So if anybody has bird watching tips for me, definitely let me know. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to working with you all and getting to know you.
Great. Thanks so much, Kaylee. And you'll all be hearing from her quite a bit coming up. We've got a lot of things in the pipes to get planned and events coming up. So, all right, let's go around. Sophia, you want to start or go second?
Sure. My name is Sophia Kostoulis. I work for Upper Blackstone Clean Water as a pretreatment technician. So I help enforce the industrial pretreatment program in Worcester and the surrounding communities.
Great. Thanks, Sophia. James.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is James. I am an environmental education intern at the Blackstone River Valley National Historic Site. So yeah, I'll be here for the summer and excited to see what all goes on with the collaborative.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Brianna.
Hi, I'm Brianna. I am the Fish and Feathers intern here at the Blackstone River Valley National Historical Park. So I'll be focusing on fishing and birding activities this summer. So I'm excited to hear from y'all.
Thanks. Ted.
Hi, Ted Beauvais. I'm president of the Blackstone River Watershed Association. Welcome, Kaylee, and welcome, James and Brianna. It's great to have some people here for the summer or longer to help make the Blackstone a better place.
Thanks. Marielle.
Hi, I'm Mariella Madaleska. I am the Senior Director of Education and Conservation at Mystic Aquarium.
Thank you. Amanda.
I'm Amanda Coffier. I'm also at Upper Blackstone Clean Water, and I'm a senior lab tech there.
Thanks. Let's see, Heather.
Hi, I'm Heather Perry. I'm the volunteer water quality monitoring program coordinator for the Blackstone River Coalition. Thanks.
And Marielle.
Hi, I'm Meryl Sterling. I'm the geospatial and design manager for the Narragansett Bay Estuary program.
Yeah, I forgot I should connect you and Kaylee so y'all can talk maps together. Rebecca.
Rebecca Quinones, Mass Wildlife.
Fiona. I have Fiona's autopilot on here. I'm not sure who that is. Okay, we'll come back to you. Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a resiliency planner at the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission.
Thanks. Paul?
Good morning, Paul Papinchuk, 350 Central Mass.
Thanks. Richard?
Richard Friesner with New Epic. Thinking about water chestnut wildlife.
We'll talk about that for sure, yeah. Judy.
Good morning, Judy Rondo. I'm the non-point source coordinator with the non-point source section at Mass DEP. And I just want to say good morning, Mary Ellen. It's nice to see you on this call.
I know the name looked familiar. Great to see you.
You
Oh,
as well.
good. I love having seen connections here. Greg.
Yeah, Greg Dorschler, Worcester Intercollegiate Outdoors Initiative Coordinator with the Greater Worcester Land Trust. And welcome, Kaylee. It's good to see you again.
John.
Good morning, everyone. I'm John Moslin. I'm president of the Blackstone River Watershed Council, Friends of the Blackstone.
Thanks, John. Mark.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Nemirovsky. I work at RIDOT. I oversee the illicit discharge detection and elimination program, IDDE. I'm the coordinator of that program. So good morning.
Sometimes we say the acronyms and then we're like, wait.
What does IDDE stand for? Yeah. Anyway, good morning.
Yeah. Peter.
Good morning. My name is Peter Coffin. I'm the coordinator for the Blackstone River Coalition, as well as the Blackstone Headwaters Coalition.
Thanks, Peter. David.
Morning. Yeah, I'm David Tapsman. I work with and for the Board of Health in Uxbridge, which is on one of the main, which is where the Blackstone and Mumford and West Rivers converge. And I'm also managing an MVP project, which is winding up. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Bryce.
Hey, y'all. Bryce Dubois, College of the Holy Cross. Hey, great to meet you, Callie. And did I say that Kaylee or Callie?
It's Kaylee.
Kaylee, sorry about that, Kaylee. Yeah.
Oh, no worries.
Sorry to keep my camera off. I've got to be mobile. I've got a great nephew here with me. So
No problem. Deb. Oh, you're on mute, Deb.
There. Deb Carey with Mass Audubon in Central Mass, doing advocacy and community outreach work.
Great. Thanks, Deb. Cassandra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassandra Flores. I am the Community Affairs Coordinator for Senator Jack Reed.
Thank you. And Cassandra, see, we got to pay attention to how we're saying names. Thanks. Heidi.
Good morning, everyone. Heidi Ritchie, Director of Policy and Advocacy at Mass Audubon, and I'm also on the board of the Mass Rivers Alliance and the Mass Association of Conservation Commissions. And Stephanie, did I hear that you won an award recently from CMRPC? Yeah. Well deserved.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Heidi's where I learned most of the things, and everything else I probably got from Bill. So Bill, you want to go next? You're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Bill Napolitano is the former, very newly retired environmental planning manager at SERPED, Southeast Regional Planning and Economic Development District. But now he's just a guy who's on all the different boards. So, yeah, Bill's there. Nick Cohen.
Good morning. This is Nick Cohen. I'm an environmental planner with the Horsley Witten Group, and apologies for just being a couple minutes late, but excited to be on with everybody this morning. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Nick. Phyllis.
Good morning, Phyllis Charpentier, Manchac Pond Foundation President. I'm up here in the headwaters of the Mumford.
Awesome.
With everyone.
Thanks, Phyllis. Patty. Patty, you are also unmuted, but I can't hear you. Patty's from the Blackstone Valley Tourism Council, helping with a lot of the water test net polls, doing a lot of good work. Let's see, Sarah Bauer.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I was a few minutes late, but I'm Sarah Bauer, Senior Technical Specialist with Mass Rivers Alliance. Good to see everyone.
Thanks, Sarah. And I think last on our list, Paul Matheson.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm late as well. So I'm Paul Matheson, Worcester Polytechnic Institute. Hope you're all doing well.
Yeah, thank you. And did I miss anybody else? Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming today. We've got a fantastic group, and I think here I will hand it off to Sophia. If you want to share your screen, we'll take about 15 minutes or so and talk about your story map.
Sounds good. Just have to get the screen shared. Okay. So this is our website. And from here, you can get to the Blackstone River Quality Monitoring Program story map. We post these story maps every time. I think the latest one is, the earliest one is 2019, but we post it once it's ready to be published on our website. So I'm going to click it. Oh, I already had it open. That's okay. So this is the 2021 Blackstone River Quality Monitoring Program story map. This program is run by us, Upper Blackstone Clean Water, in collaboration with CDM Smith and UMass Center for Water Resources Research. So I'm going to get into a little bit of background and technical info on this program before I go over the story map. So we want to answer some of these questions before we started the program. Are the efforts that we make to keep Blackstone River clean effective? What are the long-term trends in river quality management? And so we first funded a study to make a Blackstone River model in 2004. And then in 2010, we upgraded our plant to meet stricter effluent parameters, and we started the Blackstone River Quality Monitoring Program. So today we perform the river quality monitoring annually, April through November. Once each month, we sample from 9 sites, 1 upstream from Upper Blackstone and 8 downstream, ending at Slater Mill Dam. Upper Blackstone performs many of the tests on the samples from each site. In recent years, we've performed dissolved oxygen, pH, total suspended solids, ortho-P, conductivity, and temperature tests. Then at the end of the river monitoring year, we send the collected data to MassDEP's Watershed Planning Program, and we make a story map that is shared on our website. So here's the story map. So these are all our sampling points. Right here is Upper Blackstone Clean Water. Here is the sample site that is upstream from our treatment plant. And here is Slater Mill, the Slater Mill Dam sample site, sample point. So you can click on each sample point and get a little bit of a description, some coordinates, and a nice little picture. We can look at this one too. This one's Route 120A Bridge, Grafton MA. That's what the sample site looks like. So you know we're not just sampling like a random puddle, we're actually sampling the river. So then we also have a little legend here that tells you what we, the tests we did in 2021. And yeah. So here are some graphs of our results. So these are bar graphs of nutrient concentrations by year. So between 2006 and 2021. in 2021, TP, so total phosphorus loads were 92% lower and total nitrogen loads were 64% lower than they were pre-upgrade. So before we upgraded our treatment process in 2010. And you can see that the levels significantly dropped as after 2010 in total phosphorus. You can see that too in total nitrogen as well. And then we also have a comparison between winter numbers and summer numbers too. So you can see that stuff. So on to the next part of the story map. This is a map of total phosphorus average concentration trends between 2012 and 2021. So if you click one of these sample sites, you can get some information of the concentration levels that we measured, average concentration levels over this the period of months that we were sampling. And so red represents 2015, 2012, all the average concentration between those years. The green represents 2016 to 2020, and gray represents 2021. So you can see that the levels have significantly lowered over time especially since our upgrade in 2010. So this is my favorite graph. This is a line graph of total phosphorus and total nitrogen concentration averages over river miles in time. So between 1996 and 2021. The red line is a representation of an average concentration between 1996 and 2011. The blue is a range of yearly concentration averages from 2012 to 2021, and the black line is the 2021 average concentration, which is at the lower end of the range. It's pretty cool. And what I like about this graph the most is that you can see the length of the river by sample sites. So we have the furthest mile, the 45th mile is Upper Blackstone and it's upstream. And then the 0 mile is Slater Mill Dam, which is the end of the river downstream. So you can kind of see from where we discharge all the way to Slater Mill Dam, how much lower the lower levels have gotten over time as we upgraded our plant. Same with nitrogen. So this is phosphorus and this is nitrogen. It's pretty cool. So on to the next map. This is a map of chlorophyll A average concentration trends of between 2012 and 2021. This is similar to the first map I showed you, or the second map. So nutrients in water bodies lead to more algal growth, and we can measure this through observing chlorophyll levels. If you click one of these sites, it'll give you a little bit of a description of the site again, the average concentration levels over time, 2020, and 2021, and a lot of these sample points show that we've had our lowest concentration levels yet. So green represents 2020 to 2016, 2020, and red represents 2012, 2015. And pink represents 2021. So you can see they're a lot lower. Also, all the concentration levels are under MassDEP's 16 microgram per liter guidance value. So that's pretty cool. So healthy body of water in 2021. So we also perform dissolved oxygen and temperature monitoring continuously. And we started this in 2019. So this is our boss, Tim. This was our previous pre-treatment coordinator, Sharon. I think they're cleaning out the data logger. This is what logs the DO data continuously. So they put it on a brick and then they put it somewhere in the water. And then they come periodically to clean it out. So this is a graph comparing 4 sites by DO and flow over time, July through October 21. The colored lines are DO values. The gray lines are flow values. You can also click anywhere on this map so you can get a picture in time, a snapshot in time of each sample site or monitoring site to see where the DO was at that time, as well as the flow. And all these sites are surrounding the treatment plant. And so the 2021 DO data from all river sites complied with MassDEP's minimum DO guideline of 5 milligrams per liter at a rate of 90% to 100%. So the sites around us are considered pretty healthy sites in terms of DO levels. And you can also see little fluctuations between different times of day. So, and as the light, as the sun comes up, the DO goes up. As the sun goes down, the DO goes down, and it's keeps happening. There are some drops, and I think this is because, I'm not sure, but I think this is because this is during the times when we would take out the DO meter and clean it. So, yeah. And that's about it. You guys have any questions?
Thanks, Sophia. I have so many questions. I don't know if other folks do. If you want to either raise your hand or put your question in the chat. But my first question is, do you know when new spring map gets made after each year? So now that it's 2023, do you know when the 2022 map will go up?
The 2022, it looked like this map went out. So I think they updated it in June, but it looked like it went out in February 2023. So maybe not until late, so maybe not until December or early January, but I'm not very sure. But I can get back to you on that. So that's a good question.
Sure, thanks. Do others have questions? So I know you have 9 sample sites, and those 9 are part of the 75 sample sites that are part of the Blackstone River Coalition's monitoring program. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Peter has a question of, why is there a spike of total nitrogen at River Mile 35?
River Mile 35.
Let's go look.
Oh, right.
River Mile 35. So this, oh, whoops. So it's W1242. I'm not very sure. That red line spike is a historical value. So I'm not very sure why. This is what the site looks like. So
where is that one? What town are we in? Grafton.
Grafton, yes. So Route 1, but I can find out. That's a good question.
Yeah, so I know that one of the other things that we've talked about is the opportunity to get a watershed-based plan for the entire Blackstone. So that's something that I know a few partners, thank you, CMRPC, we're working on to apply for when that is open. And that's one opportunity is to take this data and really kind of dive through what all of the BRC data is, or all of water quality data, and look at some of those historical spikes and current spikes to figure out, are there opportunities to put in either green infrastructure or other, water quality treatments to remove some of those spikes and what those locations are. So it's a great data to have. Heather, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for presenting this. I had a question. You had I think it was bar graphs with summer for nutrients with summer and winter. I was just wondering what months you were counting for each category.
That's a good question. I'm not very sure what the winter months are, but I'm assuming they're between September and October and November.
Oh, okay.
Our limits are our limits for phosphorus and nitrogen are, especially phosphorus. I'm not very sure for nitrogen, but they're a little higher in the winter. I guess warm weather affects phosphorus in warm weather is more likely to create algal blooms and stuff. So that could be the reason why. You're welcome.
So Peter has another question. Why is there a dissolved oxygen shift at one site near the plant when cleaning the probe, but not others?
That is a good question.
Sounds like maybe we could have another separate meeting too about some of these specific water quality. Why did this happen? And what do we think is going on here?
Yeah.
So
maybe Amanda could answer that question too. I'm not sure, but if she'd like to.
I guess I can make a comment. Like some of the DO spikes or drops that you might see might also pertain to like a wet weather, like heavy rainfall day, or maybe like drought. Maybe the data logger wasn't, the water level dropped too much, so you might see a shift there. That's just something off the top of my head that could be the case. I mean,
yeah, good points. And then I think overall, there's just, my impression is that there's a lot of data here, and there's also a lot of opportunity to maybe work with BRC and NBEP to have some sort of these visualizations like this with the story map or the website that they're making, the data viewer that they're making. So Marielle, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to add about what you're doing and any opportunity to kind of overlap or share.
Oh, done at Mystic?
Oh, sorry. We have a Mary Ellen and a Marielle. So Marielle is with the Narragansett Bay Estuary Program and is working on some data visualization for the Blackstone River Coalition monitoring program.
Yeah, so I built an interactive map that shows water quality data for the Blackstone River Coalition. It should go up with their new website soon. And next year, there's this tool that other people built called Mass Water for data quality analysis. And next year I was planning to spend some time working on that and maybe expanding and make it easier for other people to build websites. But there's already I already built something for the Blackstone, which will hopefully go up soon. And it just, you can look at different years and it just has like a simple like color scheme, is it good or bad? But you can also do graphs over time and how things have changed. So hopefully that'll be easier for people just to see at a glance what the data is, and also they can download the exact numbers if they want to do additional analysis.
And as soon as that one's ready, you know that she'll be doing a presentation to us about it. So we're excited to hear more about it. Mark has another question about, do you have a QAP on your website somewhere for this, or is that on the BRC website maybe?
Maybe we do have, I think we do have a QAP on our website.
Or maybe you could just send it to Mark.
Yeah, and I can do that
Most
too,
folks
actually.
don't want to review the quad.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, but yeah, there's also a lot of boring data.
I have a
So,
bunch of questions, but they could probably all be answered by the quack. So, yeah.
Mark,
Okay.
you want to put your email in the chat there and we can
Yeah,
get it
sure.
to
Yep.
Sophia so she can follow up with
Yeah,
you?
and
Awesome.
I will offer myself freely. I have a lot of experience with water quality data collection and analysis, and I can maybe help you anticipate some of these questions. And
awesome.
Anyway, yeah,
Perfect.
throw myself out there.
A QAP is a quality assurance protection plan. Is that first P correct? Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's just basically, how are you collecting this data? How are you using the data? Making sure that everything is hunky-dory so that we can use the water quality data with the state. Yeah. Thanks, Patty. Okay. So any other questions as we wrap up with Sophia?
Actually, just one, if I can ask one question quickly, just to check on, with the nutrients data that you have, is that, what is the period of collection of that? Is that, I see that the DO data is pretty complete. Is that, and is it specified, usually you have constraints on when you collect the data, if you're out sampling and?
So yes, when we collect the
Dry weather?
data,
Assume.
any weather, whether it's dry or wet,
Okay.
we plan it once a month for between April to November. And we go out dry weather, wet weather, any type of weather. It's usually at around 7 in the morning where we start. And we'll typically start down at Slater Mill and then go all the way up. And we end about noontime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you probably do keep with the precipitation, you probably can get a sense of which of the samples collected would be under dry or wet conditions to some extent.
Yes, because we also do visual analyses. We record the temperature of, and the weather, the temperature of the air, stuff like that. Yeah, we record the water level. It's observation, so it's not like we go and we measure the water level, but we do a lot of visual observations as well and record it.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
Welcome.
It's very, very interesting data set and presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. And
David has a question about monitoring. Are the monitoring parameters meant to indicate climate change impacts such as temperature? I imagine because we're looking at such a short time period, it's not really going to give us big climate change sort of trends, but it is a useful parameter.
We do have a lot of the river model that they made in 2004, or that they were working on in 2004, did collect a lot of data. I'm not very sure how far back, but in this graph here, this data is from 1996. Dates from 1996. So I think it was like 35,000 observations that they collected. So a lot to make the model. It's pretty interesting.
Thanks. And Deb, you have your hand up.
Did you say me? Oh, sorry. I probably missed this, but is there any way to show, there's still some pressure by EPA, right, to get phosphorus and nitrogen levels even lower? And I was just wondering, is there any way to show what those would be versus where you are now? I mean, I think the presentation is so cool. It's so interesting to see it mapped out over time and all. But then I was thinking, well, so is that good enough? Or what is it that the ultimate goal is? And could you graph that so we could sort of see how much progress has been made and then how much more there is to go?
We haven't necessarily, I don't know if we've analyzed how much more is to go, but we have analyzed how far we've come since the upgrade, at least since last upgrade in 2010. So, and we do have we're planning to do another upgrade in case to lower our phosphorus levels even more. So looking into this data helps us decide when we should start that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting question, Deb. It would be pretty neat to see sort of like what were the previous not limits, but yeah, I guess limits, we were supposed to hit, what was the target, right? For the plant for each of these different parameters. And then what was it in 1990? What was it in, 2010? What will it be in 2030 or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And just sort of see how that's changing and what we're meeting. So yeah, good idea. All right, so I'm gonna transition on to the next topic here, but if you have other questions for Sophia, feel free to put them in the chat, or Sophia, if you can put your email in the chat, folks can email you. I think I also hyperlinked your name from the notes, so it should have your email address there too.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. You're welcome.
All right. Okay, I think, there we go. All right, still your screen share. So next up, we have some of our subgroup updates. I don't know if we have any for some of these. Does anyone have any updates for bikeway or greenway changes happening? Haven't heard about any. Okay. University work. I have some under Fish Passage that's sort of both, but other than that one, does anyone want to share some things that they're working on? It's summer. You have no updates. Well, let's take a break here. That's good.
I got an update.
Oh,
I do have one.
You lied. Okay, let's go. Paul, John, and Heidi.
Okay, just a quick update, that we have we've continuing to work on the modeling related to flooding issues in the CSO system, but really focusing more on opportunities for green infrastructure in some sections of the city of Worcester. And that's going to be the plan as we move forward. So there's a student working on that. They presented their initial work on it. They're continuing on with that. And then we also have two summer students working here who are actually collecting samples. We'll be collecting basically surface runoff samples from different land use types in probably right in the location right near WPI to try to characterize the nature of the quality of runoff from in particular nutrients. And then, considering this work is actually in collaboration with Niche Engineering. And the idea is really just to get a sense for the different land use types and how the implications that may have for design to try to reduce or mitigate the impacts of nutrients in the environment. So one question would be, is if people have any good references on for nutrients in general, they'll be trying to get that reference so they can compare the data that we've had. We've collected these things over a number of different student projects. So so I'll leave it there, but that's kind of what's happening this summer anyways for a few things at WPI.
A question for you, Paul. As far as the CSO flooding work that you're doing, is there anything you can share or an opportunity for, say, the BRWA to find out more or participate in some fashion?
That's a good question, good point. Probably, well, coordinating certainly the city, I think, has a lot of the work, and maybe Steph knows this as well regarding the water management planning efforts going on would be one thing. We'd love to coordinate on it. We're probably this project that we have is probably a little bit more focused on looking at a specific area. So whether that's going to address all the issues related to the Green Island flooding issues and some of the areas, probably not necessarily, but hopefully it would provide some insights into options. Okay, so but certainly would like to coordinate with you and talk further about how we can connect up on it.
Great, thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
For John and Heidi, are they specifically university updates or just general updates?
I had other updates, but I have to go. So I was hoping
sure, go ahead.
that you would let me.
Yep.
So I want to thank everybody who filled out the survey that we circulated on wetlands restoration streamlining. And we got 139 responses. I'm working with CLF to summarize those. There was strong support for wetlands restoration. Some of the top areas of interest were invasive plant removal, freshwater wetlands, culvert upgrades, dam removal, river restoration. Yeah, so lots of things that I think many of the folks here are interested in working on. Some of the again, big barriers identified in terms of difficult permitting, inadequate, unclear guidance from agencies, et cetera, as well as, you know, funding needs. So we're going to be summarizing all that, and we're going to also CLF is planning to reach out to some of the respondents to get more details, a little bit more detailed story on some of what some of the practitioners encountered. But the good news is we seem to be getting some traction on this. We're hearing from Chief Hoffer, Secretary Tepper, and Commissioner Heipel that they're interested in talking about this and seeing what can be done. In particular, I think we want to find low-hanging fruit of things that can be moved forward, like maybe with better guidance and consistency, ultimately down the road, potentially looking at reg reforms. So that's the update on that, and I'll have more soon. And then just also wanted to preview that Mass Audubon's gaining carbon study on solar siting will be out later this summer, and we think we're going to have some interesting information about how we can change the course of solar deployment, get the solar we need, but reduce the impacts. Because right now we have 4 gigawatts of solar power. About half of that is on rooftops, the rest on the ground somewhere, and that's resulted in the alteration of 10,000 acres of land. About half of that is forest. And this is not sustainable for the 27 gigawatts that we need going forward. So, yeah, those are my updates.
Very important ones. I know solar is such a hot topic. Thanks, Phoebe.
Thanks for letting me give my updates out of turn, because I'm going to be disappearing soon. Thank you. Thank you all for all this, an amazing group here, and I really admire what you all are doing.
We all, not just, yeah, all of us. Thanks, Heidi.
All of you.
John, do you want to share your update too?
Yes, so I've been spending a lot of time writing letters to FERC concerning all these micro hydro plants that they want to put on the Blackstone River. And you know, we're always spending so much time fighting, whether it be wastewater treatment getting dumped into the river, or micro hydro plants disturbing the fish ladder project, and it just seems like it's a lot of negative impacts that we're spending a lot of time on. And because of all this time that I've been spending on, I never toot my own horn, but I've been awarded the Allison J. Allison J. Walsh Award for the outstanding environmental advocacy from Save the Bay. So it's a great honor. That's all I got.
That absolutely is, and it's so well deserved, John. We're really happy to hear that. Is
Thank
there
you.
an award ceremony that we're gonna, get some great pictures from?
Yes, they're having June 22nd. They have the award ceremony at their annual meeting,
Okay, yep.
and they have a fundraiser after that, a Taste of the Bay fundraiser.
Yep,
That looks very interesting.
Fantastic. And I got a message from Kate this morning that she apologized. Her appointment went late, and so she wasn't able to join on time. She's hoping to join a little bit later, Kate from Save the Bay. So
Okay.
Thanks so much, Don, and congratulations. So speaking of FERC, as a reminder on our fish passage updates, the letters for the Ashton Hydro facility are due today. And thank you to so many of our partners that have put those together and shared your expertise and resources. I am certainly not an expert on this, and I really relied on everyone else to steal that knowledge and try and put it together into something useful to submit. The overall intent of the letter is to say that we don't support the project as proposed. And it's sort of what John was just talking about, and similar to what Heidi was talking about, that, you know, solar can be a really good thing, but you have to site it correctly. Same with hydro. You can do this and it can be a good thing to generate alternative energy sources, but these micro hydro facilities have very large environmental impacts and very small production. So overall, were the letters that we're writing for Ashton and Elizabeth Webbing Dam are that we are not supportive of these projects, and we lay out why. And that's partially for environmental impacts, that's partially for cultural and historical impacts to the canal, and potential for increasing a lot of erosion and heavy flows, especially with large precipitation events that will, we think, damage potentially the canal and those historic resources. So if folks are interested, I can share that with you. I know Save the Bay and BRWC have both submitted comments. The Fish and Wildlife Service has also submitted some really fantastic comments. So we can share those out with you. I have to compile them because it's all been happening in the past day or so I don't have them all right now. Also to share with you about Fish Passage, I know Bryce had to hop off early, but thank you so much to Bryce, who taught a class called Contested Waterscapes at College of the Holy Cross, and his students put together some information on the lower 4 dams on the river. So they have this overall study map. They have a Fish Passage timeline graphic that they were working on. And then they have some information on narratives, which is a really interesting way of thinking about this. They created a fish's journey, and it sort of starts out like, what would this be like in 1700? What was it like in 2010? If I'm a fish coming up the river, how do I hit each of these different barriers? And then lastly, they created a brief snapshot of each of the dams. So Elizabeth Webbing, Main Street, Slater, and Valley Falls. So those are linked all in the notes. I encourage you to check them out. And if you want to comment on Elizabeth Webbing, those comments are due on Tuesday. So we've got a little bit more time to put those together if you're interested. Anything else on Fish Passage? Okay. The collab just put in a grant to SWIG, the SNAP Watershed Implementation Grant, and that includes funding for creation of a technical working group around Fish Passage, and also hopefully one that meets a little bit less frequently, some sort of public group. So just an FYI heads up that that's going to be happening, hopefully, with funding. And if you're interested in being part of that and helping us sort of plan some of those public events and whatnot, please let me know. For water quality, other than what we've already chatted about this morning, are there any other updates that folks want to share? Okay. And then, go ahead.
Sorry, I can update. So we have my name's Heather Perry. I'm the water quality coordinator for the volunteer program for the BRC. And we have been working really hard to get a lot of monitoring done during our grant from the DEP that we were lucky to receive. We've added bacteria sampling. So we're doing all 75 of our sites for a one-time screening. And then we're also doing core sites, which we're doing every other week, several in Worcester. And then we're focusing on the Mill River as well, because we've seen nutrient spikes there with our regular data. And we've been working really hard on getting that stuff done in the grant period. And we're continuing with our regular monthly monitoring. Oh, and we're almost done with the website that Mario was talking about. Yeah, we're working. Our Holy Cross student Maura was great, and we're finishing that up pretty soon.
Fantastic. Let me know if you need help with that, or if you need a
thank
second
you
set
for
of
your
eyes
help
to-
and your suggestions and everything for that.
Sure.
So
Yeah, happy to. Let me know if you need something there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So excited to see that. Okay, and then I also wanted to mention, I've had this on the agenda from last month too. I just didn't actually say anything about it, I think last month, that we want to make this Mumford Riverside group. So I know CMRPC is working on getting together a group through an MVP grant, working on the Mumford, because y'all are so interested down there working in Northbridge, Sutton, Douglas, Uxbridge. And similarly, I want to do some work in the Mumford because there's some interest in dam removal and culvert replacement there. So that was something else I put into the grant, was creating like a quarterly meeting, at least, to talk about what are all of these river restoration projects and how can we increase aquatic connectivity in the Mumford. It's an interesting place because it has so much intact habitat, but in cold water fishery, but also at the same time, so many dams and culverts that really need upgrades and replacement and removal. So we'll start working on that hopefully in the fall. So it's kind of on pause right now, but fit in others. If you want to meet in the meantime, just please let me know. Okay, so moving on to more general updates. Anyone else who has whatever they want to share, events that you have going on? I know we have so many water chestnut polls coming up. Water chestnut polls, please sign up. I'll put the link in the chat again. You can register for any of them from the same one link. There you go. Other updates that folks have that you want to share? Feel free to unmute.
Stephanie, can you hear me now?
Sort of, you're
It's
breaking up.
Oh, wow. Well, I just want to, with regard to the water chestnut, just to make sure everybody heard that the Turner Reservoir poll for tomorrow has been postponed because of the weather. And some of our staff are heading up to Shrewsbury tomorrow for water chestnut poll on Lake Quinsigamon. I believe that is still on. I guess they're bringing a little boat, not the Explorer, to help with the chestnut pull up there. And then, of course, tomorrow we're still planning our Rivers Day celebration. So please come by, take a free 20-minute tour on the Explorer, get a drink at Sharks, go try your hand at blowing some glass over at our new partner, Blackstone River Glass on the Cumberland side of the river. They have a great little shop too. So it's from starting from 3 to 7 tomorrow. That's all I have.
Thanks, Patty. Sarah, and then Judy.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to plug some workshops at Mass Rivers, and some of our partnering organizations are going to be hosting this summer, coming July and September. I actually have a flyer that I can share on my screen if that's available. Let me try. It'd be useful to walk through really quickly. Can everyone see that? Okay. Yes, great. Yeah, so we'll be hosting 3 workshops, 2 in July and 1 in September, all on the big topic of stormwater management financing. And so we'll be talking about both short and long-term financing solutions for stormwater management. The first workshop will be mid-July on July 13th, and it'll be a short virtual event focused on addressing new stormwater regulatory pressure through both asset management and grant funding. And we'll be having speakers from Mass DEP, the US EPA, as well as a few other state agencies like the MVP program, et cetera. And then workshop number 2 will be a half-day in-person event at the end of July. It'll be hosted in Stowe, Mass. And that's really focused on capitalizing on federal funding through the SRF program and considering stormwater utilities as a sustainable funding solution. So we'll be featuring speakers from several different communities that have implemented utilities, where they can talk a little bit about their lessons learned. And then the last workshop, workshop number 3, will be in, mid-September. And that's also a short virtual event, and it'll be focused on collaborative approaches to establishing stormwater utilities. So I just wanted to plug those. The registration links will be live on our website probably by early next week, so I can share a finalized version of this flyer with you, Stephanie, if you want to send it out as a follow-up once we have all the links good to go. But I should mention that the audience for these workshops are municipal staff, and we are opening it up statewide. So we would love to have, municipalities from the Blackstone represented at these events, and you can register for each of them individually, but the goal of these workshops is to have each kind of build off the next. So hopefully we could see you attending all three. Yeah, and be happy to answer any questions. You can always contact me via email at sarahbauer@massriversalliance.org. And I also want to note that Kaylee helped me very much, develop some of this content for the workshop before she transitioned over to the Blackstone Watershed Collaborative. So thanks, Kaylee, for your help with this.
Of course, it's so cool to see the dates and everything. Like, it's really coming along. I'm so excited.
Thanks, Sarah. Definitely excited for that. And once we get the link, I will put that in and plug those. Thank you.
Thank you. Sounds great.
Yeah. Judy, go ahead.
Well, this is a great segue to Sarah's announcement. I just kind of wanted to give everyone a heads up that the non-point source section is starting to plan its upcoming grants for this federal fiscal year. So we are looking at releasing the RFR for the 604B planning grant in September. Towns and regional planning agencies are eligible for that. So if you're a nonprofit and you would like to apply for some planning funding, you can work with either your municipality or your regional planning agency to prepare a grant proposal for that. There is no match for that grant program, although if you do provide some match, it does kind of give you a little extra bonus points. And we're looking at releasing the RFR for our 319 implementation grant around October 1st. And again, those are for projects that have implementation focus as opposed to 604B, which is planning. Any organization is eligible for that. So watershed groups are eligible, municipalities, etc. That does have a 40% match requirement, which can be a little tough for some organizations. We are looking at finding a mechanism to reduce the match requirement for either applicants who represent environmental justice communities or projects that are being conducted in environmental justice communities and will provide a direct benefit to them. And to build on that a little bit, both grant programs this year and actually going forward will have a significant environmental justice component. So projects that benefit environmental justice communities will be given a higher priority. So if you have any questions about that, you can contact me and I can send you on to our two grant program coordinators, judith.rondo at mass.gov, that's right. And I will just keep you updated at future meetings when we start firming up the dates a little more. But I know that sometimes these projects will take a few months to plan out and put together. So I wanted to give everybody an early heads up.
Thanks, Judy. I know we're working on ours.
Great. We're looking forward to seeing it.
Can I clarify? Did you say that the 319 grant is a 40% match, 40?
40, yes, 40.
Okay.
Yep.
And you also say that if you're working in an EJ community, the match can be reduced potentially? Or
We hope so. We're looking for a mechanism to try to reduce that. Yeah, because we know that for environmental justice communities, that can be a huge barrier. That's almost impossible sometimes for them to get past. So,
okay, thank you so much for that.
Yep, sure.
Mark, go ahead.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find the mute. So I just had a question for Judy. One, RIDOT is applying for a grant and it has an EJ component to it. And what we've discovered is for that particular grant, they're considering the entire watershed for the EJ components. So, for example, there are probably some communities along the Blackstone that are certainly not, EJ eligible, but the Blackstone flows in Pawtucket, which is clearly, an EJ area. So any benefit that's given to the river upstream will ultimately benefit the EJ community downstream. So I'm just curious if this is similar to that, or if you're being really strict about, which communities are eligible.
Yeah, the state of Mass has identified specific environmental justice communities. So we do have a map viewer. I'll find it and put the link in the chat for everybody. So the project would have to either be in those designated communities, or if they're upstream of that community, as long as you can demonstrate, a strong benefit to the downstream community, that would also be acceptable.
Thanks, Judy. Go ahead, Marielle.
Just on the topic of EJ communities, I'm currently working for NBP. I'm working on a tool that kind of builds custom maps for designating EJ communities. It might launch as early as July. Of course, Massachusetts has their designated areas, and I believe Rhode Island's working on designating their areas, but this is just an additional tool where you can select what criteria to use, and it will generate a map telling what is or isn't an EJ area.
There we go. Sorry, trying to get my unmute too. Yeah, I've sort of previewed that that tool with Marielle. It's really exciting to see, and it's going to be, I think, pretty interesting to put in your parameters of interest and determine which communities are sort of most important to focus on there with resources. So excited to see it. Good, go ahead. Did you want to share an update? There you go.
Okay. Well, this is me. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you. So just to follow up on the thing you mentioned about the Mumford River subgroup, we do have an application into MVP, the MVP 2.0 program, which is going to sort of reshuffle core leadership groups, and also relook at the priorities that were originally set through the MVP planning processes that each of these 4 towns went through. And we should be, that may mesh a lot with what's going on with here. So, or to be seen probably this summer. It's not clear when the applications will be awarded. The other thing that we're following up, ending up the current MVP grant, and the most interesting thing I think that's come out of it is the visioning workshop that was really hosted by our consultants for dam removal along the Mumford Big Dam. Lots of attachment, lots of community involvement, and it opened my eyes to how much this is much more than an ecological issue. It involves lots and lots and lots of emotions as people has ever worked on dam removal, lots of attachments, lots of history, lots of really getting into the communities that it affects and all that. And it's wonderful. It's been a wonderful process. And the vision that was created was to replace this area with a beautiful ecologically restored area. So more to be said. Our follow-up grant got turned down by the local leadership, but that's another story. And the other thing is we are doing a water chestnut pull on the 24th on this pond that were targeted as part of the MVP grant. And still we're working with the Rhode Island DEM people who have been very, very, very helpful. Still looking for a place to put these water chestnuts. I've volunteered my backyard. So if anybody has experience with applying dried water drying watersheds that's on their property, I'd be very interested. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we're still in the process. So thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Yeah, best of luck there. I think if you just leave them for a couple days, then
Yeah.
you're okay.
Yeah, I don't think they smell that much.
No, I haven't noticed smell, and they decompose and reduce in volume pretty quickly. And by the next year,
Good.
it's virtually, a 3-foot high pile is virtually gone.
Oh, that's good to know. Even the sharp pods.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes squirrels and chipmunks will eat a few, which is
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
As long as you don't put them back in the water.
No, not at all.
No, I'm nowhere near. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
It's helpful.
Do others have updates that they want to share? Yeah, Deb, go ahead.
I just wondered if anyone knows a little bit more than I do about DCR getting the Blackstone River Visitor Center open. I just thought up in Worcester, people should know that. I mean, it's all positive. It's coming along, and it's not officially open to the public, I don't think quite yet, but Austin Alexander is the visitor services coordinator. He's a history major. He really loves the Blackstone. He knows his stuff. I think he's going to be helping at Riverbend Farm as well. Anyway, I did a tour with the Worcester Institute for Senior Education with my colleague Martha Gatch. We came down the Blackstone. Austin was great, and so was the new ranger at Blackstone Historic Park. I forget his name now, but he was fantastic. So we're getting a lot of now I'm getting pressure to do another Down the Blackstone program from Mass Audubon. So I'll see what we can come up with. Donna's going to tell us. Yay.
Good morning. Yes, there's good news about the Worcester Heritage Center in Quinsig Village. You might have heard that DCR has assumed ownership of the visitor center. And shortly after that happened, they unceremoniously decided to boot out the Blackstone Heritage Corridor from the visitor center. This was the decision of, I guess, the acting central district supervisor. So we were not happy with that at all. So we got the big guns out, and Dan Donahue, state rep for that district, and Mike Moore, state senator for that district. Well, pause that. There is a new commissioner for DCR. There has been rapid turnover in that position. In the past 3 or 4 years, there have been 3 or 4 different commissioners. So there's been little leadership or stability in that agency. So with this new commissioner, we're hopeful that there will be stability. So our state senator and state rep met with the new commissioner, who has reinstated the Blackstone Heritage Corridor as a partner at the visitor center. Of course, the Heritage Corridor has put in about $1 million into that visitor center. So we do have every right to be there. And so we're delighted with that. I'm not sure of what the timing is as far as being open on a regular basis to the public. But the Heritage Corridor is working with DCR for an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. We had one in the past, so we're hoping to revise and revive that one. I will say that on Friday, we also met with Congressman McGovern, who was very pleased to understand that this brouhaha had been resolved. And also he is organizing another meeting between the certain people on the board of the Heritage Corridor with the new DCR commissioner. And then also Congressman McGovern wants to plan a meeting in September, much more wide ranging, with the lieutenant governor, the head of Mass EOEEA, and the DCR commissioner. And a focus would be the bikeway. So things are moving along. It's all good. So
That all does sound great.
yeah. Thanks, Deb.
Fantastic update. Thank you so much, Donna. Hopefully we're capturing that correctly in the notes there, but definitely all good things. Patty, go ahead.
Well, I just want to share, and I will forward the press release, but as Worcester is heading towards being good to open, Pawtucket is heading towards the other end of possibly closing down their visitor center in the end of this month. We have been trying to work out different arrangements to keep it open. Long story of that whole process, but again, the National Heritage Corridor initially put in a lot of money into that through the National Park Service, into that visitor center as well. There's some interesting floor map and other things, and I don't know what will happen with all of that if that does close. But if anyone is interested, I would be glad to forward you the press release sent out yesterday afternoon with regard. There is a bill that was sitting through San Bernardino and several others for funding, not only for our visitor center, for other statewide visitor centers, but that's just an FYI. And then I have I don't know if anybody got the email about the really good story from the Blackstone paddlers, how they were able to rescue a woman up here in river out doing paddle. I will forward that, but it's a feel good story that the Blackstone paddler group were able to find a missing woman. As they were out paddling, they had their ears and open. They were told to, keep eyes open, and several of them were heroes. And they were able to find her, able to get her on kayaks, and work with the local search and rescue, police and fire to actually safely, and she is recovering. It was an interesting thing that came through from Molly at the Heritage Corridor. If anybody wants to read that, I can forward.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. You were breaking up a bit there, but that sounds like a really positive news story. If you want to share that, and also the link, the information about the visitor center, if you want to either email that to us or put it in the chat, and we can share it out. Thanks.
Okay, sure.
Mark, go ahead.
This is something that probably most of y'all know, and it isn't really in my bailiwick per se, but just as an FYI, if you haven't heard, DEM has some new boating regulations out, and they're taking life jackets very, very seriously. You're required to wear a life jacket. I've actually overheard stories of people who were required to ground their boat and wait for somebody to pick them up. So this includes kayaks. So again, this may affect some of your water chestnut pulls. This may have, I don't know if they're gonna, clamp down on you guys with the Blackstone Explorer, if they're gonna make everybody wear a life jacket. But so there is that, and among other things, they don't want people dangling their feet over the rail while you're underway, and that you're required to slow down for emergency vehicles, which is less sort of, it isn't as intuitive as when there's a fire engine going by. But if there's a Coast Guard ship or a police boat, you are required to yield. So anyway, I just go on the DEM site. if you want the information, but yeah, I'd hate to see somebody out there trying to do some good at a water chestnut pole get in trouble for not wearing a life jacket, because they're taking it very, very seriously from what I've heard. So
Yeah, so we have to be covered with insurance from the American Canoe Association with the water chestnut poles. So everyone is already required to wear a life jacket. They can't get out there without one. So safety first. And it's good to know, though. Thank you for that update. Okay. No toes out on a kayak. Maybe on the kayak. I think maybe he meant more of like a bigger boat. Yeah. Okay. Other updates that folks have, and welcome, Kate. Thanks for joining us. I'll put some notes in here that we have. One is that we just had the SNP forum earlier this week, so I think that was really successful. The SNP forum is every other year. It's the Southeast New England program's opportunity to get public feedback on how their programs are running. So SNP includes the Watershed Implementation Grant run by Restore America's Estuaries, as well as SNP Network, which provides technical assistance to communities and organizations, and also direct grants from EPA. And so one of my big points of feedback was, hey, I have a master's degree in this stuff. I work at a university, and man, do I still have a hard time applying for EPA grants. They're challenging to apply for. It's so much paperwork. They're challenging to administer. We have funding from SNP Network. We're required to do monthly reporting. It's a lot. Can you make this easier? If I can't do it, man, I think some of our lower capacity organizations and municipalities and tribes really are having a hard time trying to do this. So my big point of feedback was, please make this as accessible as possible. If we're really committed to things like Justice 40 and putting our funding in the communities and organizations that need it most and are doing the most good on the ground, we have to make it easy. So they, every single session I was in, I said the same thing. And at the end, they were doing a wrap up and said, did I say this right? Steph, in the audience, anything else? So I think I made my point heard pretty well. You guys know I'm pretty loud and talkative. So hopefully they take that to heart, and they can try and make these processes as easy as possible so that we can get the funding into our watershed and doing good work. I had a question for you guys. This is maybe like a John, Ed and Peter question. The CLF funding, is that public yet? Is that something that we can talk about?
CLF funding?
Yep.
I didn't know they had funding.
Oh, the SEP funding for the 3 organizations. I think Peter had asked me to hold off on putting anything in the notes until everything was finalized. Do you know if it's been finalized yet?
No, I haven't. It hasn't been finalized yet.
Yeah, I heard maybe September. Peter Coffin's the actual official point of contact, but I heard there's some more sign off required, and it might be September.
Okay, so we'll put that off a bit longer. All right. Other just sort of notes and save dates. So we have a whole bunch of fall conferences. I know it feels like fall is far away, but if you want to start saving the dates for some of those, I know October 23rd is the Mass Floodplain Managers Conference. I just created a save date for the thing I've been talking about for a while, the dam removal and ecological restoration sort of 101 training. If folks are interested in that, you are kind of my key audience. So please let me know and save the date, which is October 26th. It's a Thursday. We anticipate holding it at Clark University at the same place that we had the Mass ECAN conference, if folks attended that one. So we're finalizing everything there. We haven't sent anything official out yet. Still working on our agenda and speakers, but if you're interested in dam removal and ecological restoration and sort of want to get that, like, how do I do this 101? We'll spend the first half of the day kind of learning a little bit about financing and funding and timelines and permitting and all of those challenges, community outreach, public buy-in, And then we'll spend the second half of the day doing a charrette. So we'll break up into small groups and really get an example where everyone sort of gets a role to play, and you have to try and get your goals completed in your role. So really thinking about how challenging these are, just like David was saying, you know, some of us might see a dam and say, oh, that's a dam, we have to get rid of it. It's a aquatic barrier. And then other people see a dam and they're like, oh, it's what a beautiful waterfall. I love this in my community. Or I love that the pond that it creates and the recreational opportunities I have on that. So there's a lot of competing interests in talking about dams, and we'll be talking about a lot of those. Let's see, what else do we have? I put in the notes that I will share with you. If folks are interested in learning more about AquaQuap and Mass Water with a capital R at the end, these are two things that were just recently highlighted in a SNEP network meeting. So I don't know if that was totally public, but anyone's available to look at the recording. AquaQuap is a web-based application that helps monitoring programs develop QUAPs for fresh marine and estuarine waters. It can be used regionally. It was specifically formatted to meet EPA Region 1 preferences of formatting and methods. And then Mass Water is an R-based package for analyzing and organizing surface water quality monitoring data. Thank you for the link to that. And there was a lunch learn from from SNEP Network about that. If you're interested in learning more, you can check that out. Other reports that have come out. So New Wildlands in New England is a report from Wildlands and Woodlands. And the kind of takeaway of that is we have this commitment, this goal of covering 10% of New England's landscape as sort of wildlands, and we're only about 3% there. So, or 3% of the way, so about a third of the way there. So there's a lot more wildlands to conserve. They have a whole bunch of resources and maps and really interesting stuff about that. Let's see, I think those are most of my sort of important updates that I wanted to share with you guys. So the last thing, does anyone have anything else they want to share? Okay. The last thing is the collaborative structure. So we've always been very informal, and y'all are very polite and great at raising your hand and listening to others and collaborating well, right? Exactly what we're supposed to do. But I've been through a few groups that have started creating these group agreements, and it's not because there's ever an issue. It's just sort of to get everyone on the same page and just really intentionally think about our goals and our way of working. And so I'd sent out a draft, and thank you especially to that you shared a draft group agreement from one of your groups, and I kind of combined that with one that I had worked with before. So let me open that up and I can share my screen. And if thank you, David, also, I know you sent some comments in about it. Has anyone else worked with a group agreement before? No. All right,
Yeah,
give me
I
one.
have.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you find that it was useful to kind of have that base of understanding? Is it something that you guys talked about very much, or it sort of was like a one and done?
I think so. I think, and some other people here do this. Narragansett Bay has something kind of like this, and our organization, Newey-Pick, has something kind of like this, where it's an annual check-in and agreement that you want to participate and what you need from us and what we get from you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think an annual check-in is a great idea, really. So we're a year and a half in now, almost 2 years into having a collaborative. So, you know, there was one group that I was in that they took this from somewhere else, but it's this thought of it's okay to be raggedy. And I really liked that phrasing of, you know, if you've got your kids in the background, I have a car alarm that I just heard going off out the window, you know, like we're all we're all people first. We're not just professionals in this. And while we are professional, you know, we have outside lives, and it's understandable to kind of think about, you know, giving grace to someone and always sort of being positive that it's okay if you don't need to show yourself on camera, or it's okay if you have a dog barking or whatever it is. To always be respectful and compassionate about different views on these things, that sometimes when we have really hard conversations, it can be a source of learning and growth. Being active and fully present during our meetings, being able to listen and understand others, not just think about what you're saying, Ness, but what did someone really say, thinking about their perspective. Engaging really generously and courageously. Sometimes it's hard to speak up in meetings, especially when we have a big group, but I really appreciate everybody kind of jumping in when you have something to add. Honoring passion and compassion. So especially in this field, a lot of us do this work because we care so much. And so celebrating that and kind of caring for one another. I know that in this other group I was a part of, it was one of the first times I really felt like people cared not just about, you know, the work and the position, but being a person and balancing your own mental health and your challenges and needs of working in this sometimes really empowering and sometimes really heartbreaking field. Always talking about like, oh, well, you know, how is climate change impacting our communities, and what are all these things and all these needs and competing interests, and so much you know, need for funding to fix all these things, and you know, focusing on environmental justice communities that have been just like put on the back burner for so long. So it can be really tough, but you know, kind of being there for one another. And then I have this really kind of ground rules of muting when not speaking. Everyone always does that. We already know. Typically sharing videos. I know that a lot of people don't want to share their video all the time. That's okay. And really having a free-flowing conversation that people can really jump in, but when we have a lot of people talking at once, you know, using hand raising and things. So just kind of putting this out there. I would love your feedback if anyone wants to just unmute themselves and talk about it. If you have any comments or thoughts.
Yeah, this is Kate. I just wanted to say thanks, Steph, for your work on this. I do think that having a group agreement like this can make the group seem more approachable and open to other people that just maybe don't know anybody in the group and might be interested. If we put out there, you know, what we're all about, then I think it's sort of that first step towards accessibility. So it's for this.
Really good point. Yeah, thank you. I hadn't thought about that. So do you think people feel comfortable if this is something that we put on the website, and you know, I can put on the top something about like, yeah, it says it's a living document. You know, this might change in the future. Anything else? The other question, you know, completely understandable. I know we don't get a lot of participation during these meeting times from some of our tribal partners, but they, you know, we work with, you know, the Misco Band of Nipmuc and the Narragansett quite a bit outside of these meetings. So I didn't know if it was appropriate to put something in about, you know, we recognize that we are working on Indigenous land, and the tribes that are here as their ancestral homeland and the, you know, unceded territories of Nipmuc, Pokanoket, et cetera, was one other thing that I thought about adding in here, and just kind of checking in with some of our partners on appropriate language for that. Good, go ahead. Did you want to add something?
Oh, are you talking to me, Stephanie? I can't. Somehow I'm not getting on my name. It sounds like
Mr. Tapscott, Dr. Tapscott. Go ahead.
Okay. So thank you for doing this. I mean, I've been involved in local government for many years, and an agreement like this for governing bodies would be just a blessing. And I think getting, this is asking for consensus of how we're going to work together on many levels, the emotional level, the human level, and all that. And I think it's great. I already gave comments back to you, Stephanie, directly, and yeah, this is the way groups can and should function. And I've always enjoyed this group and enjoyed the openness and all that. And yeah, it needs to be recognized. So thank you. Our select board could use this. You know the history.
No shade to the city of Worcester. I learned so much
Yeah,
from there and I
right.
loved it. But hey, when consultants were really mean to me, sometimes I wish I had something like this and pointed at and been like, "You're not allowed to be mean. Like,
Yeah,
you
right.
you can't just lie to my face. You have to be nice to me."
Right.
I get it. Sophia.
I really appreciate the last one. We take responsibility for accidental hurt. I was thinking maybe we could add like something that says like we're allowed to express our hurt and not be judged for it. So that the person who hurts you is aware. But I don't know if that's going too far. I don't know.
No, totally. Yeah, that's a really good point. I can change that language and add that in. Yeah, thanks. Ted, go ahead.
So Stephanie, is this how does this get adopted exactly? I mean, and we're talking about it and maybe that's good enough and we just consider that it's in place and that might be fine. And I'm not sure it requires a vote or even if that would work or be appropriate. Another thing, you might just put down a date. I can't see the top of the document, but so that if it does evolve as a living document, we would know that we're looking at a version of X date, and then maybe it'd be something different in the future.
That's a good logistical point as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've never created sort of an official governing body. So I do have a very informal advisory group that I've only convened once. And it was basically, can I get a few people to sit down for a couple hours and just talk about, what grants are we working on and what are we applying for in the future? And just some of those sort of bigger picture thoughts. And it was when we were thinking about having a new hire and funding for that. And so it was just sort of an ad hoc conversation. And a lot of those folks didn't want to be public about their name being listed somewhere as an advisory group because they work for state and federal agencies. And there's, more red tape to go through and hoops to be sort of official. So we don't have a voting body. We're just sort of, if everyone thinks this is a good idea, no one says no. It's kind of going forward. So good and bad, maybe. But okay, well, I'm going to make some of those changes, and I'm just going to put a note here on voicing the hurt as well, and I'll think about how to add that language. And I really appreciate everyone just taking a couple minutes to think about that. And if there aren't any other updates, all right, you're ready to go. It's time for the rest of your weekend to start. I hope that you all can get off early on a Friday. And even though it's rainy this weekend, find something enjoyable.
Get out now because it's beautiful.
Get out now. Exactly. Good point, Deb. Everyone quit early, go out into the woods and onto the water and
take a break anyway.
Totally
Start your Father's Day planning. Get out there and get something for your dad. Plan
Thanks,
a
Mark. Good reminder.
spectacular day because that's what it's all about. That's what you really need to focus on, everybody. So spend the rest of your day. That's your homework.
All right.
I love it. Thank you.
And if you do like being out in the rain, come take a boat ride. As long as it's not fun, let's not rain or lightning. We'll be funning. Or go hear some great music at the Summer Solstice Festival.
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's a great event. And that is rain and shine. as well.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. Take care. See you next month.
Bye, thank you.
Hi, everyone.